Good afternoon, students. As the school year starts its second half, Mr. Q. Michael, Student Resource Officer, Ans Paul, and myself have come up with a quick list of reminders. Truancies. You must bring a note or have a parent phone call when you are absent or arrive late. I've been emailing students in the afternoon when the truancies come up from the day prior to let you know that you will need to bring in a note or have a phone call by the next day. It's preferable that you bring in a note. It is more of a safety thing. We want to make sure that your parents understand that you were not here and that they communicate that with us. The second thing is one of the biggest things I'm trying to do with attendance is I really want to teach you guys job skills, and part of growing up and having a job is to call in and let your boss know that you're not going to be there. So that's another part of why I require that you have a parent call you in. It's that responsibility piece. Tardies. Please know that you only get 4 tardies per trimester. And I know as the school year goes on, as the winter starts on, the weather's going to start getting bad, so make sure that you leave and allow yourself some time to make sure you get here safely. Failure to comply within our student handbook for tardies can eventually have you fail the course if you're tardy too many times. So we want to try to avoid that. That's why we're having this video, just to make sure that we remind you of those things. Food delivery. I haven't noticed this become a huge problem, but I want to make sure that I address it so that you understand what's expected of you. You are to bring your own lunch or buy from the school cafeteria. There's absolutely no food deliveries. This includes pizza. Pizza can be delivered to a teacher's classroom if the teacher is doing like a work day session where you guys are staying in during your third period class to work through the class, or you're having a party. Those are okay, but that's got to be okayed by your teacher. And as far as why we don't allow the food deliveries, there's a couple reasons. Number one, we have food here. You're able to do that, and you're also able to bring in your own food. But the other side of things is Mrs. Knuth is very busy. She's got a very tough job up there, and flooding her with food orders and things like that only takes away from the efficiency of her job, and her job is to make sure that we know who's here for attendance purposes and making sure that we get things to you in an orderly fashion. Mr. Q. Michael is up next, and please feel free to ask me if you have any questions. Thank you.
Hello. Very briefly, just wanted to go through some academic integrity pieces. Make sure that you've read through the student handbook regarding cheating and plagiarism. Ms. Salmon and I have noticed an increase in incidents that we've been working with this year. And I want everybody to make sure that you understand how serious academic integrity is, especially if you're planning on continuing your education outside of Columbia City High School. So there's the clear-cut cases where if somebody's provided you, or if you're providing someone with a copy of a test or an answer set or something along those lines, certainly plagiarism, looking at maybe ripping a report or several lines from an online source without giving proper credit to that individual organization is a clear-cut case. But we also want you to understand that other examples of plagiarism and cheating would be giving someone your homework or maybe a project that you're working on. Those can all have really serious ramifications. The biggest thing being that you would, if it's your first incident, have a 0 on that test or assignment or quiz. But if it were to continue to happen, you'd be looking at losing credit for that class. And so, but we also look at this in the long term. We want to make sure that you don't make those mistakes outside of high school, because if you're looking at, again, college or university, these kinds of things could get you completely thrown out of school. And so we want to make sure that we don't see that kind of thing happening. So again, please take a look at and review the student handbook. And then if you have any questions, just ask your teachers. I know that they're a great resource for all of you. And as a segue into Officer Anspaugh, I do want to mention that with the parking lot and parking tags, I know that we have some new drivers that are probably coming on board in the coming months. So please make sure that you see Mrs. Thomas in the office and purchase a parking tag. Biggest thing that allows us to do is there's a safety and security standpoint of it, but it also just allows us to know who's in the parking lot. From time to time, we encounter students' cars that their lights are on, or maybe they've been hit by another driver, and so we're easily able to identify who that person is and get them out there quickly without having to run license plate numbers through police department or things like that. So again, if you do not have a tag yet, or you know that you're going to be getting your driver's license and begin driving to school pretty soon, please stop by the office, pick up the packet, and then make sure that you turn that into Mrs. Thomas. Thank you.
One of the issues that we have in the parking lot, we visit a lot during the school year, is traffic crashes. And when somebody is involved in hitting somebody else's car, everybody tends to forget, what do I do? We need to remember crashes involving unattended vehicles. You need to take a reasonable step to contact the owner of that other vehicle. So if you can't call in for an accident report or call the police because your cell phone doesn't work or it's after hours and there's nobody in the school building, you're obligated to make contact with that driver, either by leaving them a note with your name and information so they can contact you that you have struck their car. I would also copy down that driver's license plate number in case that note would fall off and you never get in contact with that person, because you're looking at a B misdemeanor if you don't take care of your responsibilities on that. Like I said, if you can't do any of those things, you call the police and then we can make contact with those people. Another reasonable action would be going to the office and reporting that. So a B misdemeanor is what that charge would be. You would be charged with leaving the scene of a property damage accident. A misdemeanor is different than an infraction. A misdemeanor is a crime, an infraction is not. So that is actually a B misdemeanor, which you would have 180 days that you could serve in jail and $1,000 worth of fines. Involving a attended vehicle, if you're out on Whitley Street leaving the school and you rear-end somebody, you need to stay as close to that scene as possible without causing another hazard. You need to exchange your information or call the police. The Indiana state law requires that any accident that involves a personal injury or $1,000 or more damage requires a state report, even though we do a lot of reports with damage under $1,000, because it's kind of hard to estimate what those damages are. So it's always nice to have the police at the scene of those accidents and look at those. Another one of our issues that I've come across with new drivers, and I observe them once in a while, is the telecommunications law. It has changed a lot over the years. It started at 18, but now you cannot use a telecommunications device until you're 21 years old. So another one of those things to look forward to when you're 21. The question comes up also, well, does that mean I can't listen to music? Well, when I read the statute, it says the only exception is to call 911. I think they mean that you're actually talking or texting somebody while you're driving, not necessarily listening to music. So keep that in mind, 21 years old before you can make a call or text while driving. Another safety concern I've noticed, and it's went on for a lot of years unless we've had a crossing guard at the school, is diagonal crossing at the intersection, also called as jaywalking. The state doesn't call that, they call it diagonal crossing. That's actually a violation too. You need to cross within the crosswalk and always yield the right of way of motor vehicles. I know a lot of times back when I was in driver's training, they said you always yield the right of way of pedestrians. Yes, you do, but in all circumstances, pedestrians are to yield the right of way of cars. So keep that in mind too. And that's all I have for today. If you have any questions on those, I can give you those state law sites and you can look those up on your own.
As we close this video, I just want you guys to know the main reason why we came up with this was just to make sure that you guys knew what was expected of you, and also that you know that we do care and we are trying to do things to make sure that you guys are successful while you're here at school. Again, if you have any questions, let any one of us know. You can always email us or go to the main office and they will find one of us so we can help you. And more importantly, let's try to make sure we have a good rest of the school year. Thank you very much for listening.